one of the most important things rivers do is they erode things. To erode means to break something down. So you take something that's big, normally big and point jaggedy, you break it down until it becomes smaller and rounder. Now erosion happens to the things that a river carries with it. So things will get into the river and they'll be eroded. The things in the river are called the river's load. But erosion also happens to the river channel. Here's our river channel with its banks and bed. Now the river erodes, it breaks down the bed and the banks, and it makes the river wider and deeper over time. And there are 4 ways that a river erodes. The first is hydraulic action. Now hydraulic action is just the force of the water. You can get a feel for this if you put your hand underneath the water in the shower. Or if you're lucky enough to have a jet washer for your car, you can really feel the power of the water there. So hydraulic action is just the power of the water breaking things apart. Erosion also happens by abrasion. Now we've said that the river carries things. It's breaking down its banks and its bed, so it's bound to break off bits of soil and bits of rock. So here are bits of soil and rock in the river. Now as the water moves those, they scrape against the bottom. A bit like sandpaper. If you get a piece of sandpaper, it's really rough. And if you scrape it against something, you might have done that in tech, it will get smaller and smoother and rounder. Well, that's abrasion, and that happens in a river. Chunks of things in the river scrape against the riverbed and bank and make it wider, deeper and smoother. The third way that a river erodes is solution. Water, any water, is actually slightly acidic, and that means it dissolves things. So some types of rocks are dissolved by water. And what that means is that they stop being a rock and they just become part of the liquid. You can think of this, so they've stopped being there, they've become part of the liquid, you can't see them anymore. You can think of this like putting a sugar cube in a cup of tea. So here is our cup of tea. Put a sugar cube into it. As our sugar cube is going in the tea. What happens to it? Well, if you stir it around a bit, after a while you stop seeing the sugar cube because it's dissolved, it's become one with the liquid. When that happens in rivers, when a river dissolves rocks, we call that solution. Now the final form of erosion is attrition. Attrition is when things bash together and they get smaller and rounder. In rivers, attrition looks like this. We've got the river channel, and we know that the river carries things. Well, as those things that the river's carrying get moved around by the water, they get smashed into each other. And they go from being big and jaggedy and pointy to being small and round. That's because when you bash two things together, don't try this at home, when you bash two things together, they're going to break. So the rocks break up and they get smaller and rounder. So just to recap, rivers erode. They break things down and they erode the things that they're carrying, their load, but they also erode their bed and their banks. And rivers erode in 4 ways. Hydraulic action, the force of the water. Abrasion, the load scraping against the riverbed and banks. Solution, certain rocks being dissolved by the water. And attrition, rocks being smashed together.